Lexi, get in the yard. Get in the yard. Get back in the yard. Get in the yard. Had to tell the puppy to stay in the yard as I left on my e-bike, my RadRober e-bike, and gonna go out and fly my drone. By the way, it's cold down here. In fact, I got down to 32 last night, and my arthritis is really bothering me. So I may not be riding my e-bike too much until we get further through the winter and it starts to warm up a little bit, because it's no fun having the arthritis. I got arthritis in my shoulders and in my wrists, and actually in my knees too, but that doesn't seem to be bothering it too much. Well, here I am coming down to where I've been before, and I'm going to go ahead and take off my little Mavic Air 2, and we're going to follow the Queen Creek from its beginning, from where it's actually it's not the beginning because it starts way up in the mountains, but from where it all comes together into one creek. So that's the plan. I'm going to follow that, and I like the creek. I like the creek bed. I'd like to get down into it and be able to ride in this area that we're going to be filming, but there's no trespassing signs everywhere, and I know there's people that ride their quads down there and their motorcycles, but I'm not going to take a chance on it. So here we go, and we're actually taking off pretty close to the north end of Queen Creek, which is the beginning end of where it's put into one creek. And if you can see a levee around there, just beyond that road, or just beyond the canal that they have created, and goes from the left all the way over to the right there. So that kind of rounds up everything as it comes down out of those mountains over there. And if you haven't watched my videos, Queen Creek is usually dry, but in the wintertime when the snow starts to melt on the mountains, and when we have flash floods and things like that, Queen Creek is there to prevent flooding. All right, so while we fly along over Queen Creek, I will go ahead and tell you a couple of stories that are related to the same place. One's about my Harley, my 1980 Road King, and the other one's about my Cessna 170. And they all took place in the same area. So let's get started. Well, back in 1980, I got and I've got a story about that, but we won't go there. I got a 1980 brand new Harley Davidson motorcycle. And I want you to remember something. The 1980 Harley Davidson motorcycle was low to the ground. In fact, Harbor Freight sold a motorcycle jack, which you could slide underneath the frame and then jack up your motorcycle, change the tires and things like that. But it wouldn't fit under 1980 full dress Harley. So that's how low it was to the ground. Well, my wife and I, on one of our anniversaries, and I don't know which one it was, I have to apologize for that because we didn't keep track of it that well. Anyway, we decided we'd ride down into Oregon we lived in Pasco, Washington, in the southeast corner of the state. And so we decided we'd go down and see Hell's Canyon. And we took off and we went, rode the bike, and we got over to a little town along Hell's Canyon, stayed in a motel, and then the next morning we got up and we rode down into I think we went across the dam, and I wish I could remember exactly where it was, but I looked on Google Earth and I could not find exactly where it was. So anyway, we went down into the right along a dirt road that went along the bed, the riverbed, and as we went along, we thought maybe we could get out at the other end. Now, back then, there was no internet, no YouTube, and no Google, so you just used a paper map. So the map we had, you couldn't tell if the road ended down at this place we wanted to go to or not. So we got down there and we finally got to where the dirt road ended. And so we decided, I guess we're going to have to go all the way back to where we came down to get to where we wanted to go, which was a place, well, I think it was called Imnaha. And so we thought maybe we could get there from where we were, but the road ended. So we turned around and we headed back, and we got back to we were on our way back, and we stopped just to take a break, and we opened a couple cans of Coke, and we were sitting there looking at the canyon. And by the way, Hell's Canyon, the sides are just like almost straight up on both sides. So we were looking at that, and we were just sitting there, and along came an Idaho Power Company truck. And so he stopped to visit with us, and we said, we wanted to go down and come out the other end of the canyon, but we couldn't find the road to get out. And he says, well, if you go back the way, if you go back where you're headed, and there's a house and a little yard and just a little place there, and there's a road right next to it, and it heads up the canyon, heads up the side of the canyon. And we said, all right. And so I said, will my Harley be able to ride up on that? And he said, oh, yeah, people come over that on motorcycles all the time. So I thought, well, okay. So he went on his way, and we finished our pop, and so we headed back towards where we had come in, and sure enough, there was a little building, and there was a little dirt road that started up the side of the hill. And you know what? I think this is going to just be a one-story video. I'll have to make another one to finish up the second story. So anyway, we decided, all right, let's just take it. So we started up, and it was an old logging road. He told us it was an old logging road. And so, that logging road, you should be able to ride up there. So we got up, and it got steeper and steeper and less maintained. In fact, it got to where it hadn't been maintained, and we got to places where we had to work the Harley across, where it was washed out in little places. And you're saying, well, why didn't you turn around? Because it was so steep. And by the way, it was a full dress, had saddlebags, had a tour pack, weighed, 800 pounds or something. And the road got to be so narrow that turning around would be really hard. And by the way, when we got to that point, we could no longer see the river because the sides were so steep that all we could see was the other side of the canyon. So we decided, well, we'll just keep going. And by the way, when you're going down a really steep dirt road on a Harley, you got to use the front brake all the time. And it was like, if it skidded, well, we'd be in trouble. So we kept going, and it was not easy. And we finally hit a switchback. When we hit a switchback, we were so exhausted trying to get the Harley up the hill there that we took a break. We took a long break. So then we turned and we went back the other direction. So then the straight down side was on our left instead of our right. And we kept going, and by the time we got to the top, we had broken off the left passenger foot peg, which is a cast aluminum piece of metal that is for a Harley, it's really heavy duty stuff. So, but we finally got to the top, and when we got to the top, we got away from the drop, but the logging road was still a logging road. And we're bouncing and we're hitting bottom and everything. And we came to these guys, they were cutting trees and making wood and firewood, and they said, you're hitting bottom with that bike on that road. And we said, yeah. And we thanked him. We asked him where the road went, and he explained to us, because what we wanted to do was get to the little town called Joseph, Oregon. So they told us just follow the road and then turn here and turn there, and then you'll go through Enterprise, and then you'll get to Joseph. Because we'd been to Joseph a few times, and it's a beautiful little town. So anyway, we decided, okay, so the further we rode the bike, the the better the road got as we got to a main highway, and then we made our way. And by the way, when we rode into Joseph, we were both exhausted, and my wife was really tired from letting her left leg hang out because she didn't have a foot peg to put her feet on. And we figured out that the guy that told us motorcycles come over there all the time had no idea what difference there is between dirt bikes and Harley Davidson motorcycles. So it was an interesting experience. We were glad when it was over, and we had dinner in in Joseph, and then we still had to head on back home, and so it wasn't that long of a ride. We gassed up. My wife exercised her leg a little bit, and got on the bike and headed back towards Pasco, Washington, with a memory that I have never forgotten and she's never forgotten. And when we got home, we ordered a new foot peg, and and so anyway, so that was our experience around Joseph, Oregon, with the Harley Davidson. Now, my next video, I'll put in the experience around Joseph, Oregon, with my Cessna 170, because it looks like I've run out of time here. But I want to thank you for watching my videos. Have a Merry Christmas, and God bless.